He says, I was at an event recently and a vendor was trying to sell me a Sporran strap. He claimed that it would wear less on the kilt and not pill the wool like a Sporran chain. Any truth to this, or was he just trying to make a sale?
So, Sporran strap versus chain. Hot debate, hot topic in the kilt community. Not really.
I don't think you can get those at Hot Topic.
Indeed. So he said, I'm at a festival.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would say I'm doing the Occam's razor here thing here. So if you're at a festival, there's a good chance it is a cheap Sporran and or a cheap kilt. It is probably not a fully custom 8-yard wool kilt made in Scotland, to the highest standards kind of thing. So if you are buying, and there's essentially 2 levels of Sporran chain. There's Sporran chains which are good quality. Most of, or I venture to say all of the Sporrans coming from Scotland are going to be good quality Sporran chains that are made or offered with the kilt. Mm-hmm. There's also lesser quality Sporran chains. What is the difference? Okay,
because a chain's a chain, right, Rocky?
Oh no, it's not, Ian. But wait, there's more. When you have a chain, there's something called a flat link chain, and it's different than like a normal chain. So a normal chain, you have, think of 1 link and 2 links, and they kind of link like that. A flat link chain lays flat. So you're taking these 2 chains, twisting them, and it lays flat on a table, and you can run your fingers across it, and you feel, just little tiny bumps. A better quality Sporran chain will have soldered links, or links that are actually not soldered, but
welded.
Welded. Thank you. Welded links, and there won't be little tiny burrs sticking off of them. A lot of times when you're dealing with a Sporran chain that is lesser quality or lesser price, they're not welded. It's just, the Sporran links are just kind of, they're clamped closed, but they may open up a little bit, or they may not be 100% closed. There's a little tiny bit of space. And that little tiny bit of space is what rubs on the kilt. And it actually has an edge there versus no edge. When they're welded closed, there's no edge. Or there should be no edge, and there should be no burrs. If there's an edge or if there's burrs, it's going to rub on the surface of your kilt. And whether that's wool, it could actually pull at the wool. It could pill up a little bit over time. If it's a cheap kilt in like acrylic and a cheap chain rubbing on a cheap fabric, acrylic absolutely will pill. And that is a problem. And that is why vendors tend to say like, oh yes, this may pill, or this Sporran chain could hurt it, because it's probably a cheap chain and or a cheap kilt. Now, he may also be trying to sell you a secondary thing to take more of your money. Sure, why not? But if it is a proper, nice quality, good quality Sporran chain and a good quality kilt, generally speaking, that shouldn't happen. Now, I myself tend to wear a Sporran strap. This Sporran strap is probably 15 years old. This was actually made for me by Robert Pell, who used to own the company called Kilts. He did a lot of his own leather work. So this is a nice, soft, supple, and it has nice edges to it. It's they're what's it called when you it's not
bevel?
But not bevel, or buff the edges or whatever. So it's not like a hard 90-degree angle. Yeah. So if you buy a Sporran strap that is harder, stiffer leather with a straight 90-degree cut, that could maybe rub on the kilt a little bit. And it really has more to do with the surface of the fabric in the kilt than it does to do with the chain itself, is my gut. So if it's acrylic, it's probably going to pill. Anything rubbing over time on an acrylic kilt will pill the kilt. A repeated rubbing at a specific location will pill over time versus a proper worsted wool kilt.
Yeah.
Ian.
Worsted wool kilts definitely don't pill very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I'm at about a little over 17 years as a kilt wearer, and I've only ever bought Sporran chains from high-quality retailers, such as USA Kilts. Never had pilling on a kilt. Not once.
What's that company again, Ian?
USA Kilts.
Where can you find them online?
You can visit them at www.usakilts.com.
Interesting. I'll have to check them out. I've heard good things.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, I think there's some truth to what he said, but it does depend on what you're buying.
Yeah.
So there's that. And that's going back to the straps thing. I'm wearing a strap today as well, but I do tend to go back and forth between straps and chains pretty readily. I don't fuss over it too hard. I don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said for even the backs of some types of leather products can be quite coarse and rough. I'm thinking of like you go to the Ren Fair, you see like leather bound embossed like sketchbooks. Oftentimes the outside is very nicely done and it's got embossing.
Hide
but on the back it's rough. If you've got a very cheap Sporran strap, that could be just as much of a problem as a cheap Sporran chain. But good straps, good chains will not pill a wool 100% worsted wool kilt. Do you think woolen wool kilts would tend to have this issue?
Yes, because it's longer hair and it's puffier. They will have that issue as well.
Yeah.
PV has an anti-pill fiber technology. I will say I've had PV kilts for years and years and years. I don't really wear them as much anymore. I've become a wool snob. But I've had PV kilts pill over years, but not immediately, not like the 10th time it's been worn, but like the 60th time it's been worn and laundered and that kind of stuff.
It's certainly not like acrylic in that way, where if you just stare at it long enough, it'll start pilling.
Yeah. Any synthetic fabric, typically speaking, will pill at some point.
Which, in fairness, PV is.
Yes.
But, will take a lot longer.
Yeah, indeed. Mac.
More tightly woven fibers.
The only thing with the PV is depending on how it's washed.
Yes.
So if you do use fabric softener, that does help take that coating off, which then it does end up pilling a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So that would be my only
put it in the dryer.
asterisk to that comment.
Yep.
There are things you can do to damage the material that can increase the likelihood, for sure.
Indeed. Excellent. I hope that helps. So there's actually 3 ways, one of which we didn't talk about during this segment, to attach your Sporran to your body. You can use Sporran straps, like I have on here. You can use a Sporran chain, or you can use Sporran hangers. If you need any or all of those products, you can get them all at usakilts.com.